Welcome to the webinar on completing the Language Instruction Educational Program, LIEP template. On behalf of the Office of English Language Proficiency, we welcome you and thank you for joining us. If you have any questions after you watch this webinar, feel free to reach out to our office at oelp@sde@ok.gov. We are here to support our districts and charter schools. Topics that we're going to discuss are legal requirements, the LIEP template, and submitting the completed form, which will contain the LEA information page, assurances, language instruction, parent and family involvement, professional development, and civil rights requirements. The legal requirements under the Title IV of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Equal Educational Opportunities Act of 1974, EEOA, all states and all local education agencies, or LEAs, must ensure that English learners can participate meaningfully and equally in educational programs and services. To meet these obligations, LEAs must identify and assess all potential ELs in a timely, valid, and reliable manner. LEAs must provide EL students with a language assistance program that is educationally sound and proven successful, which consists of a court case and a Supreme Court decision. LEAs must provide sufficiently well-prepared and trained staff and support the language assistant programs for EL students. Continuing legal requirements. Ensure that EL students have equal opportunities to meaningfully participate in all curricular and extracurricular activities. Avoid unnecessary segregation of EL students. Ensure that in accordance with the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, or IDEA, or Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973, EL students who have or are suspected of having a disability are identified, located, and evaluated in a timely manner, and that the language needs of students who requiring special education and disability-related services are considered in evaluation and delivery of services. Meeting the needs of EL students who opt out of language assistance programs. Continuing, monitor and evaluate EL students in language assistance programs to ensure their progress with respect to acquiring English proficiency and grade level content knowledge. Exit EL students from language assistance programs when they are proficient in English. And monitor exited students to ensure they were not prematurely exited and that any academic deficits incurred in the language assistance programs have been remediated or remedied. Evaluate the effectiveness of the school district's language assistance program. Ensure meaningful communication with parents whose own English language proficiency may be limited. The LIEP template and submitting the completed form. The template discussed in this presentation is available on the English Learners page of the OSDE website. The completed form should be saved as a PDF file and uploaded with the LEA's consolidated application. The due date for submission is the same as that for the consolidated application, which is September 30th, 2024. The LIEP should be reviewed annually and revised as needed. This is the LEA information page. Which will ask for when it was created or when it was last updated. It will ask for the LEA information, the name, address. It will ask for the superintendent's name, printed and signed, telephone, email address, and the EL director or coordinator telephone and email address. Assurances will be on the next 2 pages. There is a box that needs to be checked by the superintendent that certifies those assurances. The remainder of the template is divided into 4 sections, each covering a series of program requirements. These sections are language instruction, parent and family involvement, professional development, and civil rights obligations. Section 2 is the language instruction. We ask that districts describe the LEA process to ensure meaningful communication with parents of ELs in a language they can understand about the scope and nature of the services to be provided to their child, and their right to decline enrollment in the program or to remove the child from the program. The second part is to describe the LEA steps to meet the English language and academic needs of English learners who have opted out of the language educational program. Question 3 asks the LEA to indicate which strategy or strategies have been adopted and to describe how the strategy will A, achieve English proficiency, and B, meet the state academic standards. The options are transitional bilingual, dual language or two-way immersion, English as a second language, ESL, or English language development, ELD, content classes with integrated ESL support, newcomer programs, or other. This is the section we just discussed. Continuing with language instruction, LEAs will need to describe the criteria, process, and timeline for evaluating the effectiveness of the LIEP. They will also need to describe how the LEA monitors the process of identified English learners toward proficiency. This section, language instruction, if you have an area in need of improvement, this would be the area to complete in regards to language instruction. Section 3, parent and family involvement. This section will describe the requirements of the LEA to consult with teachers, researchers, school administrators, parents and family members, community members, public or private entities, and institutions of higher education in developing and implementing the LIEP. Also, LEAs will describe how they will promote parent, family, and community engagement in the education of English learners. The fourth section, professional development. LEAs are to describe the professional development provided to staff in each of the LEA's adopted strategies of the language instruction educational program. They will need to describe the process for evaluating the effectiveness of staff professional development, and also to describe the material support provided, whether that is technology, curricula, or etc., for the effective implementation of the chosen language assistant program. The last section, section 5, is civil rights requirements. This section will allow the LEA to describe how it ensures English learners develop English language proficiency and participate in the core content instructional program. It will also allow LEAs to describe to ensure that English learners have full access to all curricular and extracurricular activities, and to describe how the LEA ensures English learners are making the appropriate linguistic gains to allow exit from a language assistant program in a reasonable amount of time. Continuing with civil rights requirements, it will ask the LEA to describe the procedures the district has in place to identify gifted English learners and to describe the services available to those students. And also, if applicable, describe any segregation of English learners necessary in the implementation of the language assistance program. Also, if applicable, describe why segregation outlined in the previous question is necessary. And lastly, if applicable, describe the LEA process and timeline for segregated English learners to progress to the least restrictive learning environment. This is the end of completing the LIEP. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to the Office of English Language Proficiency at the Oklahoma State Department of Education at oelp@sde.ok.gov. Thank you.